everybody. Wow, that is super loud. I'm gonna back up. It's the end of the day. I know people are tired. Everyone's excited about the celebration. To all the breweries in the room who submitted beers for the competition, I wish you much luck. It's very strict competition this year, so if you win, it's like every year it becomes more and more meaningful. But you're in this room to talk about accessibility. I would love it if the people in the back were comfortable. You too, you look right. You move up to the front. It's kind of an intimate topic, and we all want to share and learn from each other. So if you feel comfortable moving up, that would be great. If not, if you're more comfortable in the back, you can do that. Also, so my name's Meghan, and I work with the NYSBA. Appreciate you spending your hour with us. I am also joined by Kate Walsh from Double H Ranch. Double H Ranch, which I told you is based on your bios, they're not right in front of me, so I'm going to do it off the top of my head. Double H Ranch is it's a camp, but it's more than a camp. It's really a community for families with a person of disability in their family. And it was originally started by Charles Wood and Paul Newman. I always want to say Robert Redford, Paul Newman. It's up in Lake Luzerne, just near Lake George. You may have heard of it. It's absolutely incredible. My child is a camper, so I know firsthand how incredible the camp is. And Kate is the director of the camp, and she has also participated on the facilities committees, so not only knows how to run the camp, but has an understanding of the buildings themselves and how they can be more accessible. And then we have Katie Treadwell, who's with Saratoga Associates. That's the short version of the name. It's a very long name. Landscape architects, yeah. All based in Saratoga Springs. And Katie specializes in ADA compliance and accessibility from an architectural perspective. Is that a good summary? You guys want to add to that? Okay. The bottom line is there's no such thing as an expert in accessibility. That title doesn't really exist. We are all learning together. So I have a perspective as a parent and somebody who works in the brewing industry. Katie has perspective as an architect. Kate has perspective from a facilities and a programming perspective, and you all have different perspectives also. So I really encourage this to be an open dialogue of communication where we learn from each other. You're wondering maybe why we don't have a brewery represented up here. It's because I couldn't find one. I couldn't find one that I felt like had a good accessibility story to tell. There's breweries doing some really great stuff, but kind of from a holistic perspective. Maybe next year, the year after, then we have brewery up here talking too, so we can aspire to that. And as we're making these suggestions and having this conversation, in no way at all should you feel bad about what you're not doing. This is a judgment-free zone. It's about what can we do as a community and as an industry to be more accessible. And the reason this talk came about in the first place is because at CBC in May 2023, I heard Bart Watson as the keynote speaker at CBC talking about what he thought breweries needed to do. He did not mention the word accessibility at all. But he mentioned being more creative. He mentioned actively going out and finding new audiences of people that will appreciate craft beer. He talked about thinking outside of the box. He talked about looking at other industries and what they're doing and learning from them. Now, he said those four things again, didn't say the word accessibility, but that's what I heard. That's what I heard. Does anyone want to take a guess? And if you already know the answer, you are disqualified from participation.
No prize.
What percentage of adults living in the United States have a disability? Anyone should take a guess. It's okay if you're wrong. 30, you're very close. But you went over, so if you go by Price is Right rules, then 27%. So more than, did you say that? I didn't hear you. Oh. So 1 in 4. So if I break this room up, that is, these 5 people right here, right? And so if you think of this from a business perspective, 27% of the people that you want to appeal to may not be coming to your brewery, or maybe, right? That's a big percentage of the population. And again, as we talk about the craft beer industry maturing, we want to look at making our audience as broad as possible, right? So we're talking about accessibility. We hear a lot about inclusivity these days, starting with accessibility. This is the definition, and I'm going to read it while you read it. All people can navigate, interact, and be active in the physical space of your business. Visual, auditory, physical, speech, cognitive, and neurological disabilities are taken into account in the design and use of the space. Obviously, Katie's going to talk about design of space. The use of space is something that I want to get into as well. When I reach out to breweries looking for examples of accessibility, what I'm most often met with are examples of ADA compliancy. So that is the reason for this slide. If you look at it in three steps, the first step is ADA compliancy. That's mandatory. That's a legal requirement to meet the ADA standard. ADA standing for American with Disabilities Act. What that means, in its most simple form, is that somebody with a mobility issue can get into your brewery. That's it. So it's handicap parking, a ramp, railings, that's it. It doesn't have anything to do with how easy it is for them to order a beer, or use the restroom, or converse with their friends, or pick up your merchandise, or somebody with low vision, can they read the menu, can they pay their check? It's a very narrow definition. It's literally just about mobility issues to get into the building. Is that correct?
Generally, yeah. And getting into the building, and then also maneuvering around the building, getting into the restrooms, and being able to use the restrooms. And that's pretty much where the code sort of draws the line. But yeah,
right. Okay, so then the next level would be accessible. Everybody can access the same products and services, right? So you think about, a lot of bars are generally about this high. Somebody has mobility issues, perhaps they're a wheelchair user, they're not able to access the same products and services. That's just one simple example of the difference between ADA. They can get into the building because you've got handicap parking and you've got the ramp, but can they order a beer from the bartender in a comfortable way? They can probably shout up, they can probably hand a piece of paper, but can they order a beer in a comfortable way at the bar? And then the third level is inclusivity. We're not going to get too much into inclusivity today because honestly it's an enormous topic that gets a lot of publicity these days. So we're gonna kind of stop short of inclusivity and talk about accessibility in this session. It's not a hard line, right? There's some gray there. But this is people of all backgrounds, intellectual and physical abilities, ethnicities, feel a sense of belonging, and can fully engage without limitations from physical, cognitive, or social perspectives. So an example of inclusivity might be that, let's say your staff uniforms, instead of getting men's shirts that you expect your female staff to wear, you have a variety of staff uniform options that everyone feels comfortable in, whether they're male, female, or identifying, or have different pronouns. So that it's not, nope, this is our staff shirt, I don't care who you are, this is the shirt you have to wear, right? You offer different options. That would be more an example of inclusivity than accessibility. Do you have anything to add to the descriptions of these three levels?
Yeah, and I think you covered that level one being ADA compliant. There are the 2020 ADA standards that we have adopted within the New York State Building Code. So I'm primarily going to be talking about the New York State Building Code today, since we live in New York State, but New York State has adopted ADA standards into it, so it does become the building code. And
So if you're meeting building codes, you're by default meeting the ADA requirements, is what you're saying.
essentially, yes, we use those terms interchangeably because the ADA standards is part of the building code.
Okay.
So when we are talking about the building code and ADA compliance, we're talking about these being minimums. So when we're looking at accessibility, meeting building code, having the 44-inch wide corridor, having, a small section of counter that is 34 inches high in order to provide a space for one wheelchair, that meets building code. But what we're here today to discuss is how can we make more people more comfortable. These are the minimums. We can go through and meet a lot of other requirements or beyond those requirements in order to make people more comfortable.
And I think those of you who might be worried if you have a pre-existing building, that's all we do at the ranch. So at Double H, we've built a few new buildings, but a lot of what we do is retrofitting and being creative in how we make a space more accessible for people. So don't panic if you're like, I can't start over, because we deal with that a lot. And so navigating that world is so important, and there's things you can do. And then it's also thinking creatively about your clients and your customers. Good question.
So my brewery's in a strip mall.
Amazing.
We kind of don't really have the build it all up to the landlord. We kind of can't change things unless they want us to let us do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, we work with existing buildings all the time. Strip mall might be a little bit out of what we have done, but we're absolutely open to looking at it.
But even being able to provide those reasonings, like, hey, we want to upgrade lighting because of X, Y, and Z, just having that data and information is so crucial to say, we need the lighting to be brighter so people with visual impairments can see our menu better, or having different options even just for a menu. So there's little things that can be done without having to maybe restructure the whole space.
And we will definitely get into examples that are actionable, affordable, and easily implemented by whether or not you're a farm brewery out, with plenty of space and you're designing from scratch, or you're in a strip mall and you've got these limitations. We promise you we'll walk away with some ideas. Before we move forward, where we start kind of brainstorming together and sharing ideas, I want you to indulge me in just a very brief kind of vision exercise. How many people in here work for a brewery? Okay, so it's almost everybody. Everybody else who doesn't work for a brewery, picture a brewery of your choice. So I would like you all to close your eyes and follow the path here that I'm going to lay out for you. Let's say you just pulled into the parking lot. Let's say you're a wheelchair user, and you've now gotten out of your car. You're in your wheelchair, and you are getting into your building. Picture you in that wheelchair. How are you getting into your building? Is there a step? Is there a change of terrain? Does it go from a smooth path to pebbles or wood chips? Does the door swing out? Is it automatic? Where's the button to open the door? Is it a heavy door? Is it double sliding doors that open? Is it a wide space? Do you have to go through multiple doors to get inside? Okay, you're inside. Do you know what to do? Is it obvious if you should go straight to the bar or if you should go to a table? You're with your friends and they're not wheelchair users. Is there a spot where the 6 of you can, yes, you all fit in one vehicle, a space where all 6 of you can sit comfortably together and enjoy your beers and pizzas? Or are you, as the wheelchair user, sitting lower than them? Are they at a high top? Or to get to a table, are the chairs all pulled out in such a way that your friends have to move all the chairs out of the way to give you access to the spot. Is the table high enough where your legs can go underneath? Oh, you have to order at the bar maybe? How do you order at the bar if you're a wheelchair user at your place? Okay, you have to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom? Is it easily marked, or are you wheeling around looking for it? Is it easy to get into the bathroom? Is it easy to get in a stall? Are there stalls? Is a single person? Is it gender neutral bathroom? Are there handrails? Is there a handicap? Which that's ADA, so the answer is probably yes. Can you reach the sink and the soap and the hand dryer? Is it a dryer? Is it paper towels? Where is the trash receptacle? You go back out, assuming you've washed your hands and dried them. And you have your beers with your friends. Okay, you can open your eyes. I know that was just a quick exercise. I do know brewery owners in their planning process who have borrowed wheelchairs and experienced it themselves. How did that feel to any of you? Was that enlightening at all? Did that give you any sort of perspective? Was that helpful?
I think the biggest thing for me is the bar height. We do have an area near the end of the bar that you would be able to, make visible eye contact. Sometimes that area is crowded as well. So, and you don't have a lot of first floor seating. You have 16 table seats, so you could definitely see a situation where someone could come in and not have room for 6 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that's our biggest problem too, is the bar. I can see that, I can see this.
Okay.
And then our second location, same thing, it's gonna be, that's all I have to see the bar.
And for everybody, right? Like, again, I don't want you to be like, oh, our bar, it's not.
Just the fact that you're here and thinking about these things is
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do it again just real quickly. Close your eyes. This time, let's say you are low vision. And the reason I'm picking that one is because a lot of people don't consider low vision a disability. But I'm 51, and my vision is not what it was 10 years ago. So I'm not, air quotes, disabled, but I'm aging. And the aging population is often marked by low vision. So let's think about your signage. What kind of contrast do you have on your signage? Is it high contrast, or is it a little hard to read? That first slide that I showed you with our names on it, I actually purposely did that. It was hard to read. It was green on yellow, not very legible. So is your signage high contrast? What kind of font are you using? Is it pretty clearly marked how to get into the building? Again, thinking about low vision, are there steps? Can you see the steps? Is there a railing for you? Can you see the railing? What's it like for you to get into your brewery if you're low vision or blind? Let's say you're using a cane. You're pretty skilled at it by now, and you get to a table. Is it clear to you if someone's going to come over, or do you have to wave? How do you order a beer? How do you get someone's attention? How do you know what to do? Okay, so you've got the menu. Is it a digital menu? Does the digital menu go fast? Does it go slow? People have time to read it? What's the contrast on the digital menu? Is it nice, crisp, clear? Do you have paper menus? What's the font? What's the contrast? What's the lighting like in your brewery? Is it dim? Is it bright? Do you have sconces? Do you have candles? Is it predictable? Is every table set up the same? So, okay, I went to this brewery last week, and this was what I can expect if I go back this week. Oh, no, this table's different than that table, maybe. Things are switched around. How do I tell which bathroom to go in? There's two choices. Which one is the one for me? Okay. Just a shorter one, just to try to, again, give a little different perspective. How's your brewery from a perspective of low vision? How was that experience? Was that easier for you to navigate low vision, or easier to navigate as a wheelchair user?
I feel like we have two breweries, and one of them is definitely like much darker than the other one, and there's a lot more different like terrain you have to go through, and different doors you have to go through, and that's the oldest one, right? And then we have one that opened in 2016 that there's definitely a lot more thought about this stuff put into,
Sure.
obviously. But like low vision wise, we've made the decision to, like, the lights are lower, but all of our tables have a lamp on them that has like varying brightnesses, that kind of stuff. Like our bathrooms are well lit, the entrances are well lit, whereas like the table areas are more dim, but they have that option.
Right. That's a really great point that you're making without realizing it. Options. That is one takeaway for you today. You want to have high tops because you like the look better, or you want a dim area because, you know, it's more intimate, cozy. That's great. But options, right? Offer high top and low tops. Offer a dim section and a bright section, or offer a lamp at the table. One thing that, from a low vision perspective, that I have experienced that I love is having, if you have a hostess stand or even on the corner of the bar or something, a basket of dollar store readers. Literally $10 spent. Literally $10. Get the basket, get a handful of readers, and put them up there. I was at a brewery the other day, and this is a true story. There were 6 of us. I pull out my readers. I'm the only one of the 6 of us with readers, but all 6 of us need them. So so the waitress is standing there reading as all 6 of us, we have to pass around one set of readers, which is a colossal waste of her time. And like, we're embarrassed that we're making her stand there and wait for us to pass, you know. And it could have been totally avoidable, right? If she was like, oh, we got a basket of readers right here. Here you go. You guys are all set. Like, A, we would have been like, you're awesome, right? And B, she would have been like, thank God I don't have to stand at their table for 10 minutes while they figure out what they're ordering, right? So there's a very easy, simple solution that you can walk away with right there. The basket of dollar store readers. No one will judge, but they're not super fancy. So I'll tell you a story personally. I was at a brewery recently. I, of course, am not going to name the brewery. And it was fantastic. Beer, excellent. Service, excellent. Food, excellent. Lighting, excellent. Really, I was like, this is my new favorite place. And then I went to the bathroom. And my heart sunk a little bit. Because I have a child who has a disability. I am not safe. I can use the women's bathroom, no problem. My 9-year-old daughter needs someone to take her. That's fine if she's with me. But if my husband goes to that brewery with my daughter, and my children are pretty much regulars at breweries, know their way around a brewery, he can't take her to the bathroom unless he brings a 9-year-old girl into the men's room, which is not, I think we all agree, that's not the best scenario, right, to bring a 9-year-old girl into the men's room. And the sad part for me is that, again, they've done everything else really, really well, really, really thoughtful, beautiful space, but, you know, and again, I'm not saying it was their fault, like, no blame. Really, the architect should have chimed in and said, hey, you know what, like, instead of doing a men's room and a women's room, and they're huge bathrooms too, like, let's do a family bathroom. Let's do a unisex bathroom. Because that would have solved everything,
Right, so the building code does have a minimum requirement. If you're building new or renovating, there is a section in the New York State Building Code that if you have a total of 6 toilets or more, that you are required to have, you know, a family restroom or gender neutral restroom, but a single use restroom. But again, that's, yeah.
It's a lot, right? It's a lot
But
of toilets.
it's 6 total though, men and women's.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that if you're only required to have 4 total, you can still opt to have that shared restroom so that you can make more people comfortable. You know, if you have people that are, you know, with different pronouns who identify differently, they don't have to choose which restroom that they're going in and potentially feel judged or anything else. We're not getting into that. So it's a great opportunity just to make people more comfortable. And when you make people more comfortable, they want to come back, they want to spend more time, they're going to purchase more of your product.
And I will tell you, this disability community, good news spreads like wildfire. One disabled person has a great experience at your brewery, and it is all over the disability chat groups, I'm telling you. Because it's such a novel experience, right? Like, I went and it was, you know, they did a terrific job there, but this is like, next thing you know, you've tapped into that 27%. So let's talk about some, let's brainstorm. What can we do, right? What can we do that's easy, accessible? We already talked about the readers, right? Because you're not going to go tear down your bathrooms, right? We're not suggesting that. But if you are looking at a new build or are looking at expansion, you know, this is something now that maybe you'll consider that you wouldn't have 40 minutes ago. So what else can we do, right? We talked about options, having different choices for people. Digital menu, paper menu. I know it's a little bit more work.
I think too, yeah. I mean, if you're also just overwhelmed by this, using the people in your own community, like having someone who uses a wheelchair every day come into your space, you know, getting them to kind of audit your space and say, like, because we've done things at camp where we've been like, man, if we had this information from this family 5 years ago, we would have done things differently. And I know that you're going to keep trying things, and that's okay. But getting advice from experts who are living this life every day, because I do think that's where you're going to get a lot of information about the things that we don't maybe realize as people who function in the world as quote unquote normal. So really tapping into that community in your own space and having someone come in and evaluate a space and trying not to take it personal, which is hard.
And the thing is, like, doubly translate, this is what they do. They are a camp for disabled children. And what Kate's saying is that they're not perfect.
Absolutely not.
Right? So
we try really hard.
We're not shooting for perfection, and it's an iterative process. And again, the fact that you're here and even willing to have this conversation is fantastic, and that is going to translate. And this isn't just because it's, you know, the right thing to do and you want your friends to do. There's a real impact on the bottom line to all this stuff too.
And I think too, like, looking at your spaces, and you're never gonna find the perfect solution. You know, you could have bright lighting, but someone who comes in who has autism hates bright lighting. So having those options is really, really important. Maybe there's a section that the lighting is dim and a section where the lighting is bright. And being okay to ask your customers where they'd like to sit and what they'd like to do, and not assuming. You know, sometimes wheelchair users come in and they don't want all the chairs moved out of the way for them because that puts a spotlight on them. So it's asking, hey, how do you want to best get to your table? Like, can I help you with any of this? Do you want me to take the chair away before you get there? So being okay to have those conversations. Sometimes if we ignore it, it becomes more difficult to meet that person's needs. So obviously staff training and that is really important too, is who are the people meeting with your clients?
You know, just as a business owner, you look at any opportunity to increase your business or revenues by 27%, you would have to seriously consider. And you look at that as someone with a family member who's disabled. They live in an area where they have about 3 restaurants they like to go to because they're very friendly for people with wheelchairs. And so it's like, if you have the opportunity to look at expanding your business by being, as you indicated, that community talks too. It's like, this is really great, if you got a wheelchair, you can come in here, you can have a great table, access to the bar, all that. But as you said, Megan, it really can impact your bottom line significantly.
Yeah, I think what you and Kate both made me think of as well, which is worth mentioning, is attitude, right? Like the willingness to want someone to be comfortable in your space and have a great experience, right? Like I don't know if that person wants help or not, but I can ask, right? And just by asking, that person feels seen, and you know, staff training is great to the extent that you can kind of fold that in to your operations. Training your staff, like be friendly, be courteous, be non-judgmental, be helpful, be supportive. Hey, I see you squinting at that menu. Are you having a little difficulty reading that? Because if so, you know, maybe I can turn the lights on, or I can give you whatever solution you have right there, right? If people, and this is not just Taproom related, right? But if people are a little bit more in tune to each other's needs and offered that, right? Because I mean, I was at a brewery recently where the staff just ignored me. I'm completely, you know, high functioning, able-bodied, and I had questions, and I couldn't even get my questions in. I was like, oh my gosh, you're just standing there, and I'm actively seeking help, right? So you think how much more exacerbated that is for somebody with a disability, right? So even just training your staff to be open, and to Kate's point of inviting different people in and say, hey, you know, show us how you use this space. Give us some ideas. Do you know how honored people would be to participate in your brewery on that level? You know, just by even put it out there on Facebook. Hey, anyone with disability, we'd love to have you come on this night. We'd love to get, like, the publicity around that would be insane, right? And the ideas that you would get would probably blow your mind. Yeah.
So, like, we're opening this third place, right, in September, so we're fortunate enough to be able to, like, take everything we've learned from the other places that we have, and now this new place is going to be so full of options, like, we're heating sidewalks outside, so there won't be ice in the winter, right? There's a ramp that goes inside. I have to check about buttons for the doors, because I think those may have been overlooked, but I think.
And for your
we
bathrooms.
should get them.
Bathroom doors often don't have buttons, so a wheelchair user has a hard time getting into a bathroom as well.
But if it doesn't have a latch on it, it's just a swinging door, is that better?
Better, yes, for sure, because you could potentially use, if you were in a power wheelchair, you could potentially
Oh, but you
push.
still have to pull it
Yeah.
open,
What
right?
about like a pocket door?
Pocket doors,
In order for a door to be accessible, you can't have grasping, pulling, so you have to be able to operate with this, essentially. So pocket doors are usually not considered accessible.
a great idea.
But like we are putting that low section on the bar. We do have a mix of high tops and low tables. The patio is accessible from the inside to be all one level, but like from the outside, you can also use the stairs if you want to. You know, we're putting in a sound system where every speaker is controllable. So if someone over here is like, it's so loud, you can turn it down, I can turn it down over their table.
My mother would appreciate that a lot.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
so
Options.
just having all of those options,
Yeah.
and like, if you're ever gonna upgrade your audio, like your AV system, that's something you can do. You can do it on an iPad.
Yeah,
Like, we're kind of going all out on it.
That's
and
awesome.
We're putting a lot of money into it, but it's, I think, gonna be super worth it.
well, you're bringing back in that group that maybe didn't come before, so hopefully the money put in is worth the money that you get back. Yeah, that's awesome. But it takes the third brewery, so it does take time, so don't worry.
Our
Right.
whole building is like, can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
We have an elevator, but if they wanna go to the second floor, they're going to the kitchen.
Oh,
To
fun.
get into the dining room, so that kind of awkward, so they can go right to the third floor to a dining area.
So what about this idea? What if somebody came to that first venue that's, you know, not, let's face it, they have to go through the kitchen. That's not a good user experience, right? What if next time that happens, staff says to them, hey, you know what? We recognize that this is an old building that we can't retrofit, and this is not a great experience for you, and we're really happy you're here and willing to go through this.
let me hand you 20% off a coupon at our new brewery, so you
Yeah.
can check that out for us, you know, and hopefully that's a better experience for you, right? Like, costs you next to nothing, small gesture, goes a really
Yeah.
long way.
And I mean, we are doing we have the men's room, the women's room, and then the family bathroom too. And it's all just like right next to the front door. There's tables close to the front door, so if you have a person walking, you don't have to like go that far. That kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And there's also a group, you know, there's people who live with disability their whole life, and then there's people who, you know, have an accident, or, you know, my dad was undergoing through cancer treatment and was so mortified that he had to be in a wheelchair, but still loved drinking beer. And so we had to spend a lot of time figuring out which places he could go to now that our lives had kind of switched. So I think that's another avenue to think about, those people who are temporarily using, you know, different devices to help them move or mobility-wise. So it's really just like having those options is so huge.
There's a brewery in Maryland where the owner is deaf. Most of the staff are deaf, not all, but most. Their music is terrible. It's true though, it really is terrible, because I can't hear it. But their staff has their name on their shirts, which is not a unique thing. What's unique about it is the name are embroidered hand letters, ASL letters. So clever, so they're just same price as putting their name in letters, right? Doing the hand, the ASL sign language letters. And a lot of people who don't speak sign language can identify letters in ASL. I'm one of those people, and it was really cool. I knew the staff's name, and between them being able to read lips and my limited ASL, like, we had really great interaction, really great conversation. The NYSBA actually made a shirt. It is on our new e-commerce site with beer, which is not difficult because it's still letters, but in ASL hand signs. There's a brewery in Hudson Valley that does ASL tours. They used to do them once a month. I'm not sure if they still do. You know, they bring in a sign language interpreter, and it's on the schedule the first Saturday of every month or something. Again, pretty inexpensive, pretty good way to show the hearing community that you are interested in them as customers. So
I was also going to say about bar counters. I've seen a lot of breweries where the accessible bar is like further into the brewery. So thinking about how you navigate in a wheelchair, going past potentially high-top seats, the lower seats that are coming out, like the aisle that a person would have to get to. So almost looking at, can the lower section of your bar be more accessible and not kind of tucked into a corner? Because that just makes that navigation so much more difficult. Even just setting up some low-top tables and having a bar opportunity there for people is a nice, if you can't redo your whole bar, just a table like this, and you have some taps here that you can serve people here as like a temporary fix.
And the other idea, it again goes back to the staff, right? You see someone coming in, you know that their bar is not going to be accessible for them. Instead of just watching them struggle or ignoring it, hey, we don't have a counter height for a wheelchair user. What can I do to help you out? Can I bring you the menu? Whatever you need to do to support them, right? Probably be one of the first times they ever heard that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or if it's a family member, because a lot of times it's not the person, right? It's the there's a caregiver trying to support that person. And speaking of caregivers, a lot of times, a lot of people just say, we don't know why, right? Like, they'll talk to the caregiver, like, well, no, they're in a wheelchair, but they hear just fine. So
English is their first.
So yes, they're helping that person, but like, that person's still a person and should still be treated like their own customer, right? I noticed it with my daughter. She's pre-verbal, she can't speak, but she can hear just fine. So you, as a wait staff, they can say, like, do you want the macaroni and cheese or the punch? She can say macaroni and cheese, but yeah, to work directly with the customer themselves instead of trying to go through their caretaker, right? much as the staff can, and that again goes back to the training. What other things have you done? Anyone have anything that you have implemented at your brewery that like you think was kind of a cool thing that you'd like to share with other breweries?
I have a funny story, kind of.
Yeah.
That we, our landlords renovated our space as part of the lease, and when they built the bathrooms, they put the door on the wrong side of the bathroom, so then it opened up with less clearance to the sink, so the sink butted out from the wall, and I don't remember exactly what the measurement was, but it was too far. So then we had to get these tiny sinks. And our tap room isn't huge, so like the bathrooms do take up like a significant amount of floor plan, so people will ask us, why are the bathrooms so big? But the sinks are so big.
That's
funny.
That is funny. Yeah.
I know for us, when we were building our private event space, that, if I'm correct, the turnaround space behind the bar, so if someone in a wheelchair needed to make a circle behind the bar, that was very important, but we didn't, like, to your point of, we've never tried it with a wheelchair, so we were just sort of measuring it with measuring tape, but we never thought to bring an actual, so thank you for that suggestion. It's one thing to say in practice, but to actually do it, that's on my agenda now, so thank you.
Yeah, I think one thing we found from the ranch is just more space the better. So the minimum is the minimum, and you've got different sized wheelchairs, you have different sized people using these spaces. So we've learned over the years that yes, this is what a doorway should be, but maybe it should be an extra foot on each side for these families, because you might have a wheelchair user who is spastic in their movements, so their hands might be out here outside their wheelchair, and then they can't get in that doorway without someone helping them bring their hands in. So I think it's just, again, it's a learning process of like, there's the standard, and then we try to go above that if we can.
Yeah. And I don't want to open the can of worms of kids and breweries, because I know that can be a contentious subject. So I just want to say though, strollers, similar to wheelchairs, and that need extra space to navigate. And we know that the population of craft beer enthusiasts is getting older and having kids. And so, again, just thinking about it from that perspective as well, right? Like if it's wide enough for wheelchairs, it'll be wide enough for strollers as well. So over the last year, I've been talking to various people, having these kind of meetings, and developing kind of a cheat sheet of ideas or a compilation of ideas. And so we will email this out to everyone in attendance, so you don't have to try to memorize it or take notes now. But a lot of people have contributed to these ideas, and so I just want to kind of share some of these with you and see if anyone in this room has something else that we can add to it. We talked about training staff. We didn't talk about language. Language is super tricky, right? To try to say accessible instead of handicap. I've been in this world 10 years. I stumble over words. It's okay. It's all right. Like give yourselves grace. Like we're all of us, right? I don't know the perfect terminology. Don't beat yourself up over that or get hung up on it. Asking for customer feedback. Great way to help endear your breweries.
I'm someone who's filled out all the surveys at a restaurant, so like adding one question about accessibility is just one easy way to get that feedback without having to like specifically target someone who might be in a wheelchair to be like, how was your experience today? So go for it.
Which I actually did. The day before I gave this panel virtually through Craft Beer Professionals, literally the day before, I was sitting in a brewery with my husband, and I was like, yeah, tomorrow I'm giving a talk on accessibility in breweries. And as those words are coming out of my mouth, kid you not, a gentleman is trying to come through the door as a wheelchair user. And I, of course, like, raced over, helped him get in, and I was like, let's talk about your experience at breweries. It may have come out a little strong, because it was like, in my head. And it turns out, I think it was Keith's that he was newly a wheelchair user. He's always been a craft beer fan, but he was newly a wheelchair user, and so it was like, he was like, I've been coming here, like, walking in for years. I just had a stroke. And now I'm visiting, like trying to visit my favorite places as a wheelchair user. Now, he was already a craft beer fan, so it's a little different. Right? He was already a fan, and he was like, I'm gonna make this, I don't care how bad the experience is, like, I'm coming here for the beer. But that's not that 27%, right? Those are people that you're trying to endear to your brand and your product.
I think, did you have your hand up before? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, we're always looking for good solutions to the bar height problem. One thing we've done is place a spot where we're doing over-the-counter can sales. Your transaction counter for that works well low because you're putting a case of beer on a counter. And that's typically where the entrance, so kind of run that low height around into the first part of the bar and then step it up.
Yeah,
That's smart.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, there are a lot of ideas when you're trying to come up with these ideas of trying to integrate things so it doesn't look like it's an add-on. It doesn't look like, oh, that's for somebody using a wheelchair. Oh, this is for somebody who can't see well. You know, it's the goal of the architect and working with the owners to try to come up with this holistic approach so that it works with, you know, whatever design you're trying to get to.
And your brand, right? We're not suggesting that you revamp your brand to try to be like this beacon of accessibility, right? It should be seamless, folding into the culture and the brand that we've already been working hard to establish. So here are some ideas with the physical accommodations, which we've talked a lot about. Booster seats, not just for little kids, not just for toddlers, like booster seats are a nice thing to have on hand for somebody who maybe struggles to get in a taller chair or struggles to sit comfortably in a regular chair. There are people who are really short who might appreciate a booster seat. They're not necessarily disabled.
We went with my grandmother to a restaurant once, and she was, she was doing the old lady shrinking that happens, and it was we all laughed about it, but something that could have boosted her up would have made her experience just that much better. You're just sitting there like this. Yeah.
Right. And again, like, do you need 50 of them? No. But to have a handful in a closet and when someone comes in and you see them a little uncomfortable, hey, would you care for a booster seat? Right?
Yeah, she would have loved it.
She would have loved it. And you all would have.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't have just improved her experience, but everyone she was with, because then, she looks more comfortable and therefore you're more comfortable, but also you're eye to eye, right? You're looking right at each other.
I understand what you're saying with that one, but every person I know that could use one, if I offered them a booster seat, they'd throw it at me.
You know, so many tough people.
Yeah.
I mean,
You could even have chairs in different heights where the legs are adjustable, so then it's like not obvious that they're sitting in a booster seat. So that's fair too.
I honestly didn't realize that an adult-sized booster seat existed.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
But you, like, you're having a couple of chairs with the
Yeah.
legs adjust, you just
Adjustable
have a
chairs.
few and you can always just swap them out. Right?
Yeah.
They don't look that much different. That's a great idea too, and then you have to worry about storage and everything.
Yeah.
There are adult changing tables. Is that part of ADA to have a change? It's not part of ADA to have a
Not
changing table.
for adults. Baby, yes, but
Maybe yes, it is now.
it is
Is it in
not.
both bathrooms, like both restrooms?
Yes.
Yes, it was not always
No,
a
it's,
law. I changed my
That
view
was
on top of a
recent.
crate of empty beer bottles once. Not sanitary.
There's a theme there.
Shred a brewery cover.
We just have one bathroom, so like, what is the ADA compliance for things like that?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
We only have one bathroom, so.
Okay.
What is the
That's-
ADA compliance for something like that?
So typically you're required to have an accessible space. 5% of whatever you provide to the public needs to be accessible. So if you only have one, then technically that is supposed to be accessible. It's an existing space, so it's to the great extent possible. It also doesn't really take effect unless you're renovating.
Okay.
And part of the existing building code does allow, it is pretty forgiving, and we can find workarounds in the existing building code to, it gets kind of complicated, but to simplify it, if you're not touching it, what you have is generally fine, but we want to improve. So grab bars, things that you can add. There's just a few different things that, like I said, we're adding something that makes it a little more comfortable for people.
It's like door hardware,
Yeah.
grab bars, like you're saying, like even booster seats on toilets. ADA toilets are generally higher than a regular toilet. In fact, they're kind of becoming normal. But like Katie said, like if you've got an existing space, you're good. If you start to really renovate things, then the code's going to apply. You're gonna change it, and that's all written in rules.
Yeah, there's a distance between the wall and the center of the toilet that you're going to have to meet, which, is very difficult if you're not completely renovating, but.
I mean, ideally one day, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get out of strip mall.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a nice strip mall.
I think that's a great use for this.
Been to some
So
strip
tired of
malls.
gyms.
Yeah.
Just taking over.
One other idea for, yeah.
Make it bigger. Actually.
Well done, well done. Yes, I can. And I was just, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things on there that I was going to mention, we haven't talked about are pictures. There's a lot of people that maybe can't read, but they prefer picture menus. Very easy option to offer as well. You can have just a handful of copies, get them laminated. I've seen that happen at restaurants.
Yeah.
It's actually now my kids' school district, just finally this year, when they send home the school menu, now they have pictures on it so that kids can pick their own meals, because a lot of kids can't read.
Well, yeah, and if you think about adults who can't read, there's a lot, and it's a lot of,
Yep.
they're not gonna come out and maybe say that, so just having it as an option is huge.
Picture menu
Yeah.
is another. Yeah.
A lot of places are doing menus with QR codes. Is there anything in the software that has additional accessories, either larger or?
Some software is better than others. I know GoTab is a POS system is really working on the accessibility piece. The founder, Tim, was on my last accessibility panel because he owns 2 breweries and is the founder of GoTab. I'm certainly not going to promote GoTab and suggest you need to change your POS system. Some are including those kind of features to change the font, add pictures, that kind of thing. In general, regardless of what POS system you're using and asking people to scan the QR code, it's a nice option to also have some physical menus available. I personally can't stand ordering off my phone. I don't even know where my phone is 90% of the time. So I like to have an actual menu.
Well, and there are a bunch of requirements for just like websites too for accessibility. So if it's directly linking to like a website page, what are those accessibility? I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know our website designer was really aware of colors. And if you zoom in, does it stay zoomed in or does it come right back at you? So you have to like hold it down. So those little things are just things you could look at if it brings you to a PDF or something like that, if it's not full point of sale.
SiteSeeker is an allied member that is pretty well versed in ADA compliant websites. They might be someone to reach out to if you have any questions about that. You probably all know a year or two ago, there was like a wave sweeping across the country of breweries getting lawsuits filed against them because their website was not ADA compliant. Did you all hear about this? Yeah, it seems to have died down a little bit, so that's good news, but does not change the fact that your website should be ADA compliant. The good news is that the lawsuits have stopped or slowed down. I didn't even know until recently that there are dyslexic-friendly fonts. Did you all know this? There are dyslexic-friendly fonts, and that that was new information for me that someone just added to this document recently. We know about Braille. Actually, only 10% of people who are blind read Braille. So it's nice to be like, oh, we have all of our signs in Braille. That's great. It's a nice gesture, but it's not that practical. You're better off having high contrast, large font for people than Braille. Because most people who are blind actually are low vision. you can have low vision and be considered blind. It's kind of a gray area definition. So we talked about the sound. Yeah. Any other ideas? Any other thoughts? It's the first time you've probably ever thought about accessibility in your space.
And if it's not, awesome.
Like it probably is, and that's totally, that's totally fine. Like now that you're thinking about it for the first time, like, oh, we could do this. What about this? The back of your staff shirts. A lot of times they're blank, right? You got your logo on the front. A lot of times the back is empty. Could you use that space for messaging or raising awareness? Could you do like a 1-month campaign around, I don't know, maybe it's, in fact, I think March might even be Disability Awareness Month.
I think it is.
The month of March, like, do you actively, do you have staff shirts that have maybe stats on the back or something like, we'd love your feedback at how to be more accessible.
And also don't forget about, like, this is a whole other topic, but your hiring practices and trying to get more people with disabilities in the workforce is a huge thing right now. So, I work with kids who at 21 age out of camp and don't know what to do. And so fully functioning could be great. We have one camper who bar backs at a bar and is in a wheelchair. And so really start thinking like, what else can we do besides just our customers, and how do we employ people in our actual workforce? Because then you're going to also learn a ton from their experience. So.
We're planting that seed now, we're walking away. That's a huge
That's
topic.
huge. Good luck.
That's for next year's conference. And maybe some of you might be a candidate to talk about that. So, I hope we kind of like made the topic of accessibility accessible to you a little bit, so you feel comfortable kind of thinking about it more, and you feel good about what you have done, and you have a couple little strategies that you'll take back with you. And any other ideas that you come up with that are not on that document, please email me. I would love to hear more creative ideas and just keep growing that and getting that information out there. Any other last minute thoughts or comments you want to share?
I was also going to say trust the experts. I mean, we've worked with Saratoga Associates for many projects, and just having that opportunity to be like, hey, is this ADA compliant? Do we have enough toilets? Like that kind of stuff. So even if you're in a pre-existing building, it's nice to have a group you can turn to ask those questions. So utilize those people.
Great, thank you all. Thank you so much.